Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's ProjectSight Summer Training Series, session number 1. My name is Maggie Caesar. I'm the Senior Customer Marketing Manager, and I'm joined by Hunter Dickerson, who is a professional services consultant with ProjectSight, and he's going to be taking you through the training today. First, I'm just going to cover a couple housekeeping items. So we welcome your questions. So as you have questions, type them into the GoToWebinar control panel there. And we've got a couple folks on the line. They're going to be answering questions in the panel. And then we might ask a couple over the air as well. But feel free to ask the questions as they come to you, and we'll have somebody monitoring that. And we are recording today's presentation, and we'll post it onto the training video page on the ProjectSight website. So if you have colleagues or if you wanted to watch it again, you'll be able to access that within the next couple of days. And so I'm going to turn it over to Hunter at this time.
All righty. So welcome, everyone. Nice to meet you all. Taking a look at the agenda for today. So we'll be covering security roles or security groups, how to add and manage companies and contacts. And then we'll end today's session by discussing adding and inviting users to your projects. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into ProjectSight. And I'm going to take just a quick step back here. So when you go into your portfolio, so I'm going to go into my ProjectSight training portfolio here. And starting out with security groups. So to manage security roles in ProjectSight, you need to navigate to portfolio settings. So you can do that by clicking the quick navigation icon here and then into portfolio settings. So the reason why we're going in this order, in order to add or invite a user to ProjectSight, you need to have a security role in place to tag them to, and you also need to have their company in place. So that's why we're going in that specific order. So starting with security roles. So these are the 5 security roles that come out of the box with ProjectSight. And you can edit or adjust any of these existing roles, but you can also add new roles, and you can do that one or two ways. So you have the option to create a brand new security role from scratch by selecting the add icon, top right of the screen. But you can also make copies of existing roles. So let's say you have a project where you need to add a new role that's going to be similar to a project administrator with maybe some stripped down permissions. So instead of creating a brand new role from scratch and just starting from the very beginning, you can make a copy of this project administrator role here, and then you'll start out with all the same permissions as the project administrator, and then you can adjust the roles or adjust the permissions from there. So that's actually what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a copy of this project administrator role. So it's going to bring you into a new screen where you can start editing the permissions. Now off to the right, you are required to, whenever you create a new role or make a copy of a role, you are required to add a role name. So I could say something like Project Admin 2, right? And then it gives you a place to add your description of that role. It does carry, if you're making a copy of a role, it does carry over the description from the role you're copying from. Now, whether you're creating from scratch or from a copy, or you're just going in and editing an existing role, you will have the same 3 tabs along the top. So you have features, records, and fields. So the features tab, this is where you're able to give administration controls, so access to the portfolio settings or the project settings, but also just general features that you can give this role access to. So starting at the top, we have administration. So the first little checkbox here is for lookup lists. So this is how you can give this role access to the different lookup groups or access to manage the different lookup groups that you'll see throughout ProjectSight. And you can actually give access to some lookup lists and not others. Moving along, we have the portfolio settings permissions. So if you wanted this role to be able to go into the portfolio settings like I did and manage the settings at the portfolio level, you would first have to start by giving them access to portfolio settings. And then from there, once you give them that access, you can give them further access within portfolio settings. So you can give them the permission to manage these security roles, right? Or invite new users at the portfolio level, or manage spec sections or upload portfolio images. But it starts by first checking that box to give them the access to the settings area. Same thing for the project level settings. Something like a project admin, you may not be giving them access to the portfolio level, but you want them to go into the individual projects that they have access to and manage the settings there. So you do the same thing first, start by giving them access to project settings, and then you can give them further access within those settings to manage things like distribution lists or the locations on the job site, or to invite new users to that particular project, or manage spec sections or project images. So that's the admin level permissions there. If we scroll down, we have some additional permissions. These are kind of like special features. Can they access the Trumbull Connect models folder? So checking this box here would make that tile available to view within their project homepage, that portal to Trumbull Connect. Right? Turning this off, they would not be able to access Trumbull Connect at all. File library, same sort of thing here. This would make this file library module available to view from their home page. Now, turning this off, it not only doesn't let them get into the file library module, it also doesn't allow a user from this security group to be able to upload files anywhere in ProjectSight. So if you want them to upload files, even in one of the modules, you would need to have this file library permission turned on. Now, from here, if you want to kind of strip down their permissions to certain folders within the file library, you can access those permissions within that project's file library. Moving down the line, we do have permissions to integrations that are out of the box. So these are integrations connecting ProjectSight to eBuilder. So if your company also has interactions with eBuilder and you want them to be able to export contract schedule values, or you want them to pass RFIs between eBuilder and ProjectSight or submittals, that integration would start by turning on the permission to allow them to do that. Moving down the line, we have record features. So these are pertaining to specific, most of them are pertaining to specific record types. So the first one here, this actually is not pertaining to a particular record type. This is if you have some sort of custom development that is integrating ProjectSight to another system that you use. In order for that integration to happen, this permission to perform actions on behalf of other users via the API would have to be turned on. In most cases, if you don't have any sort of custom integration to another product, then you wouldn't need this turned on. The next one here, this one's usually reserved for your admins. So either like a project admin or maybe a little bit lower level, like a project manager that would need to be able to go into a record and unlock it if it is locked. Right? So for example, like a RFI, if you mark an RFI closed, by default, it will lock that RFI. And only people with this permission would be able to go in and unlock the RFI to make further edits. Moving along, we have permission around contract invoices. So this is basically allowing a user of this security group to see all contract invoices across all companies. This is usually reserved for people that have access to contract invoices and that are internal to your company, right? Subcontractors, you may give them access to contract invoices that they're associated to, but you don't want them to see invoices for all companies outside of their own. Same sort of deal with daily reports, right? These permissions are usually reserved for internal users, right? Or internal security groups, where you need them to be able to go in and see all the equipment entries and all the labor entries across multiple companies, because maybe they're tasked with going through and approving those entries, so they need to see all of them. Then we get to some permissions around drawings. So this one here is pretty important. The permission to create and modify public annotations. With this permission turned off, you can give a user access to go in and create annotations on a drawing. But those annotations would be private unless they link the annotation to another record in ProjectSight. So it forces a user of this role to actually think about the annotations that they are making public, right? They can't just go in and make any sort of text annotation on a drawing and make it public for everyone to see. They're kind of required to link that annotation to something else in order to make it public. With this turned on, and this is usually internal users only, with this turned on, they can go in, add some text to a drawing, and just make it public without ever linking it to any other record. And then the second permission here, can download as built. This gives a user the ability to download the not only download just the drawing, but download all of the records that are linked to the drawing. So you would download the drawing as a PDF, but then if there's some RFIs or punch items linked to the drawing, it will also download reports of those linked records, and it would zip everything into a zip file. So turning this off would not allow a user to do that. And then moving down the line, we have linking permissions. So this isn't geared towards any particular record type. This is kind of across the board in ProjectSight. Can they create record links? Can they delete links? Can they modify existing links? Can they view links that others have done? Typically for anyone other than maybe like a admin or a project manager, you might want them to be able to create links on modules they have access to, but you wouldn't want them to be able to just go in and delete a link. Moving down the line, we have potential change orders. So this is similar to the permissions we see for contract invoices and daily reports. If a user has access to potential change orders, this permission would give them the ability to see all PCO line items for all companies. Turning this off, they may be able to see line items, but only the ones tagged to their company as a responsible company. And then moving down the line, we just have the overall permission for printing. Can they go up in a lot of the modules, or actually all of the modules, you'll see a print icon at the top of your screen. This is turning that print functionality on or off. And then we do have some permissions around specifications. This is fairly new because we add annotations to specs. These two permissions here are the exact same permissions that you would see for drawings. And then we have the report permissions here. So you can turn off specific reports for certain security roles. So I could turn off all the ability to print any sort of reports for application for payment. Even if they have access to applications for payment, they wouldn't be able to print any reports. Or I can go through and check off reports that I want them to have access to. And then down at the bottom, this is fairly new as well for your summary views within the modules. This gives you the ability to share views with security roles or share views with other users. So these are custom views that you would create, and this is how you would give them the ability to share their custom views with others. So that's what we have under features. Under records, this is where you're actually giving them the access to view, create, comment, modify, or remove within each of the modules. So for example, if I open up document control, I can see all the submodules within doc control. And then for example, RFIs. Maybe I want this user to be able to view RFIs, but I don't want them to be able to create new ones, right? So I turn off the create permission and they can view RFIs. They can go in and comment on those existing ones or modify them. And maybe I don't want them to be able to delete any RFIs as well. So I can turn off that permission. So you'll see the same permissions for each of the submodules throughout ProjectSight. Now, there may be a time where you want a user to be able to go in, view an RFI, and just make comments on it. You don't want them to modify the rest of the record. You just want them to be able to go in, make comments, and possibly upload files, right, to their comment. Now you'll notice if I try to just do comment, it automatically turns on modify, right? You can't have the comment permission without the modify permission. There is a way around this. If I just want them to be able to comment, then I can make my way into the fields permission, where you can edit the permissions down to the individual fields within the module. So what I could do here is hit this drop down, go into the field permissions for RFIs, and make all the fields read only. This would give the user the ability to go in and make comments, upload files, but the rest of the fields will be read only. They won't be able to modify those. Now also in here, maybe, sometimes you want them to be able to maybe modify the status, but nothing else within the record. Or you want them to be able to modify all of the fields except for changing the status. You want to leave that up to like a project manager or project coordinator to go in and move the status forward. So you can adjust these permissions per field. Now you also have the option to totally make a field invisible to this security role. So they can go in, modify all the different fields, they just wouldn't see a status on the record at all. So that is what we have for security roles. And I'll go ahead and take a step back, and I'll pause to see if you guys have any questions around security.
I haven't seen any come in yet.
Okay.
Just shows what a great job you're doing.
Thanks. One thing to add here, you'll notice that for each of these security roles, it says type. So a lot of these just have standard security group, and then this one has portfolio admin. This portfolio admin group cannot be deleted. This is the one security role that can't be deleted. You can go in and edit the permissions within this role. But if I hit the three dots here, the three-dot option icon, you'll notice there's no option to remove. There always has to be at least one portfolio admin within the portfolio. Now you can also mark a security role as the default, so that if you're going in, and we'll see this in a bit, when we go in to add or invite a new user, the default role is what populates first. So it's probably a good idea to set the default as, a lower level security role, so that if someone's going in and inviting a user and they just go ahead and hit send to invite and they didn't actually check off a security role, that person doesn't end up with, portfolio admin rights where they can go in and mess something up. All right. So moving along here, next is companies and contacts. So in order to add a user, that user's company needs to be in place. So I have two companies here, just have like a test subcontractor and the Trumbull company. So to add a new company, you have two options. If you're just adding like a one-off company, you just need to add the company really quickly so you can invite that user. You can come in and just click the add icon. You also have a import-export tool if you want to import a mass amount of companies and contacts all at once. I'm going to come back to this import tool so that I can first show you all of the fields that are available within companies and contacts. So if I come in here and just create a new company, the one thing that I like to note is the only required field to add a company is the name, right? So if you need to quickly add a company just to invite a new user, you could come in here, put in the name and hit save, right? Now that company's added. Now, of course, most times you want to provide a little bit more detail around that company, more than just the name. So I put in the name there. You'll notice off to the right-hand side, I have some general company information. So I have the type of company. I have a spec section. And this spec section list is coming from the spec sections area within your settings. I have division as well. You can enter in a trade, it's just a normal text field. I can put in any general notes, who provided the information for this company, which is another text field here. You can put in the date, title, alias ID, alias system. You don't have to worry too much about this one here. This one's more geared towards if we did do like some sort of custom integration between your ERP system and ProjectSight, where it's carrying over companies and contacts from that other system, it would utilize alias ID and alias system. Now moving over to the left side of the screen, we have these tabs along the top, right? And the first tab is contacts. So this is how you're adding your Rolodex of contacts to this company. Now, adding a new contact is not necessarily inviting that person to log into ProjectSight. That is actually done through the users. This is just adding their contact information. And you don't have to do this first. I'm gonna have to make you aware. You don't have to add a contact first before inviting them as a user. You could go, once the company's in place, you could go directly to users, plug in the information for that user and invite them. And it would automatically create a contact for that person. So you don't have to do this first. There are some benefits in doing this first. So when I drop the new line for a new contact, I can go through and provide the information, contact info. You'll notice that the name is one of the requirements here. But as I plug in the first name and last name, I'll actually populate that field. So I put in that information, it populated the required name field. There's other information you could provide, the title, crews here. This is dealing with daily reports. So in daily reports, when you add a labor entry, it'll ask you for a crew. Now by default, it's just defaulted to not applicable. So it's not a requirement to use crews for daily reports, but you can if you wish. And there's actually a tab here where you can add new crews for your company. And then as you add new contacts, you can indicate which crew that contact belongs to. Now there's also a trade dropdown, classification, and then location. This is required, but it defaults to the main address for the company, right? And we'll talk about that in just a second when we talk about addresses. Then you have telephone number, cell phone, home telephone, and then email. So email is not required to add a new contact, but it can be helpful. And I'll give you this scenario. Let's say that you have a contact that you want to add. You don't want to invite them as a user. You don't really need them logging into ProjectSight to see your records, but you want to be able to email reports to that person, right? In that case, the email address would be required. So I'm just going to put in this address there. So as long as you have their email and their name, you will be able to email reports out to that person without ever needing them to log into ProjectSight. Next here we have projects. So this is how you associate any contact to a particular project. You're basically adding this contact to your project directory from here. So I can hit the three dots and say, okay, this contact is a part of the Westminster project. Right. Now, if I was to go into that project and look at the project directory, you would see my name in there. Even if this contact is not a user, they can be a part of your project directory. All right. This also ensures that this contact will show up in drop-down menus. For example, if you go to email a report to this person and you hit the drop-down for contact, this contact's name would show up because they're associated to the project. All right, and then we just have general notes, and then we have portfolio role. But there's also a project level role. This is not to be confused with security role or security group. If we hit this drop down here, there's a ton more portfolio roles than security groups that we currently have in place. So I can say if I know this person's a project manager, on every project, then I can select them, select that as the portfolio role. Not a requirement. Now the next tab here, we have addresses. So this is where you're adding the main address for this company, as well as adding any additional addresses. If this company has locations across the United States, you can add those multiple locations. So for this, I can select the type of address. I could put in the display address here. And the display address, this is what shows up in forms. So if I was to select like a to company for a contract, this is the company, or this is the address that's going to show up on the form. Now there's also address line 1, 2, 3, city, state, zip. You can fill out the rest of this information. And if you're doing like a custom report or something like that, where you just want to pull in the city for that company or the state, you would be able to pull from these individual fields instead of pulling the entire display address into that report. But these fields aren't required. You can also put in like a company email, company telephone number, fax. So that's what you have under addresses. And we also have crews. So this is going back to daily reports. If you want to enter in labor for different crews within one company, you can set up those individual crews. So I can have like crew 1, crew 2, and then I can indicate like a default start and finish time for that crew, default number of workers, hours, and so on. Some other tabs we have here, we have a place to enter insurance records. So you can put in like policy name, number, effective date, expiration date. Now this is just logging this information. There's no, you're not uploading files here or anything like that. It's just logging the insurance information. We also have divisions. So off to the right, you would have noticed that I selected a division for this company, but it may be that they work in multiple divisions. So this divisions tab allows you to add more than just one division of work. We'll let it load up here. All right. And by default, the divisions is broken down by spec sections. So I can select multiple. Next, we have work types. What type of work do they do? Do they build schools, hospitals, prisons? You can select multiple types of work for that company. And then we have regions of work. So I showed you in addresses, there may be multiple locations, but you can specify different regions as well. All this stuff is mostly geared towards California and Florida. So the regions of work is something that you can edit within your lookup lists within your settings. We have certificates. So we have like type of labor, classifications, bonding and insurance information for reference. And then legal and financial information. None of these are required, but you can provide the information that you need to. Now, it's also important to note, and we'll probably cover this in a future session, but you can You can also rename or repurpose any of these fields, right? So if there's something in here that you would never, information you would never provide, you could rename the nomenclature here for something that you do need to track. And then we have work history. So, percentage of work as a GC, as a sub, their max contract value. And then we have contract history as well. Now, if you're actually using the contracts module of, within the project, you would probably be, creating the actual contract record there. And we do have the option to do like a cross-project report. So you could do like a summary report of all the contracts for a certain subcontractor across, every project in the portfolio. So, you might not use this area here. It just stays within the company profile. But there may be other contracts that aren't, particularly geared towards the actual construction for the project. So you could upload those sorts of contracts here for history. And then we just have the general history tab that you would see in a lot of different modules where it's tracking any edits or modifications to this company profile and who made them and when. Right? So it's date and time stamped here. All right. Oh, so I added something to contract history. Yeah, let me go ahead and just remove that line item. All right, so those are the different tabs and areas within companies and how to add contacts. Now, we do have this import tool. So if I select the import tool and select export to Excel, this will download the Excel template to work off of. Let's give it a second here. And then I can open up that template. Drag it over here. All right, so it's going to show you all existing companies that are already within the system. You can edit some of the information for that company. You can't just totally delete the company from the Excel template. It's all adding new companies or editing existing company information. But I could copy and paste, a long list of new companies directly into here instead of going into ProjectSight and adding them one by one, right? And I can provide the rest of the information. And it has the same tabs that you would see in ProjectSight, just in tabs in Excel. So we have contacts here. So I can add a bunch of new contacts. I would just have to make sure that I am indicating what company that contact is a part of as I add new lines. And then we have the rest of the tabs that you would see in there as well. Once you're done adding a bunch of new companies or contact or modifying any of the existing ones, you basically save this document, come back into ProjectSight, and instead of exporting to Excel, you're going to update from Excel. That'll prompt you to browse and pull in that saved Excel template that you were working off of. And then once you do that, it will populate all the new companies that you added in that Excel sheet. Usually there's or not usually, there is once you hit update and you choose the file, it'll go through a process of loading up, and it'll give you a window that shows you if there's any errors how many records were successfully added, things of that nature. If there were errors, there'll be a place for you to re-download the template with the errors so you can go in, correct those, save, and then re-upload again. All right. So that is the companies and contacts. Last here, well, I'll take a pause. Any questions around companies and contacts? I don't see anything in the chat.
No, I don't think we have a question for after the training. We're going to show a couple of the folks how to access the training video page, but nothing else specific.
Perfect. All right. So the last little bit of this segment is around actually inviting users to log into ProjectSight and access your projects. So I have 12 users in here. So if I wanted to invite a new user, go ahead and click that add icon here. And I'll start by putting in the email address. So I think I've already invited that email address. You do need to put in a valid email address. If you don't, it will kind of clear the field and won't let you put it in. But I'll put it in. Now, if you plug in an email address that you've already entered for a contact under a company, it will pre-populate the first name, last name, and company for that person, right? So that's one of the benefits of going in, setting up all your companies, setting up all the potential contacts and potential people that may be users. Go ahead and do that from the start when you're setting up ProjectSight, so that when you're going in and actually inviting new users, there's less information for you to actually type. Now, this email address isn't found anywhere in ProjectSight, so nothing is populating here. So I would be required to actually type in that information. And then select a company that they're a part of. Now, the default security role, this is going back to when we were talking about security roles, and I was saying, you can select a security role as a default. So our default for this portfolio is the standard user. So that's what's pre-populated here. But if I hit this drop down, I can see the rest of my roles. So maybe this person should be a project administrator. Now, actually, after you select their default security role, you can come down to project permissions and decide which projects you want them to be able to access when they log in. So I just want to give them access to the Westminster training project. Now you'll notice, like if I gave them access to multiple projects here, it's defaulting to the default security role for all those projects. But I can give them a different role for different projects. So maybe they're going to be a standard user. Oh. Is it, it's not letting me select it there. Let's see if I can do it here. Oh, that's a little strange. Usually, when you are giving them or checking off the boxes for the projects, you could actually give them a different role per project. I think I might need to just hit a refresh to let that happen. But they can have a different role for each project. Now, once you're done filling out this information for a new user, you'll click Save, and this is going to send out an email notification to that person. Basically, it's a portfolio invitation. And I'm going to pull up just a quick guide real fast here. So this is just a quick guide on what to expect and the process on getting logged in for the first time and creating a Trimble ID. There we go. There we go. Okay. So basically, this guide just walks you through what that invitation email is going to look like. The email comes in looking like that. And if this is their first time logging in the ProjectSight, like they don't have a login yet, they would click the create new or create your Trimble account. That's going to take them to a form where they'll fill out some basic contact info, their first name, last name, email, right, their password. Once they submit that form, it actually sends an additional email to activate their account. Right, they'll get that email, hit activate account, and then it's going to ask them to provide some additional info, like their street address, their phone number, the time zone that they're in. And then once they hit submit there, it'll automatically log them into ProjectSight. They'll be able to see the portfolio and the projects they've been invited to. So I just wanted to quickly show you that. But other than that, there's one more thing here for users. So for any existing user, I can go in and adjust their security role. Now notice, this is the account that I'm logged into right now. I'm a portfolio administrator. A portfolio administrator gets access to everything in all projects. So when you select that role, you won't see the project window anymore because they get access to every project. And I think most people in here, let's select this one. This one's in here as a power user. So it's outside of a portfolio admin. So you actually need to select the projects to give them access to. So I can edit the security roles or the project permissions for any of these existing users at any time. Now there's also a import tool for users as well. It works exactly the same. It's basically the same process as importing companies and contacts. I would hit this export to Excel. It would give me an Excel template to work off of, and then I would just provide the information for all the new users that I'm inviting. Save that Excel file, click update from Excel, and pull it in. So that's if you're inviting, 20 users all at once. You could use that tool. Other than that, I think that's what I have for you guys today. Turn it back over to Maggie.
Thank you, Hunter. Sorry, I was having trouble with my headset here. Oh, it looks like a question did come in. I'll go ahead and ask it since I know Phil's covering the panel, but I'll go ahead and ask it since we're at the end. It says, hello, we have a program with 100 plus projects. The window that displays projects is very small, so scrolling through is becoming tricky. Do I have options? The import export does not have project permissions.
That is correct. So yeah, the import tool here, it lets you import, the email address, company, default security group, first name, last name, but there's no place to select the projects within Excel. Let me see here. So there is a bulk edit tool. So if you have like multiple users that are all getting access to the same project, you can select all of those users. And then off to the side, we have batch edit. So you can batch edit the security role, but also batch edit the project permissions or batch remove project permissions. Not sure if that answered the question or not.
All right. Thank you, Hunter. So let me see. I'm going to switch it over to me because somebody had asked how to access the ProjectSight training videos.
Sure.
So let me switch it over to my screen here. So if you're on the ProjectSight website, projectsight.trimble.com, if you just scroll down to the very bottom here, I know we kind of have it hidden for no particular reason, but under About Us, there's this training link. And so if you click on that, you'll be able to find all of the training videos. We have, I want to say maybe 40 to 50 training videos all together. You can sort by new user modules, a number of different ways, and we will add this training to this page as well, and then our remaining trainings throughout the summer. So feel free to share with your colleagues if they're looking for new training.
Hey Maggie, can I switch back over to my screen real quick?
Sure.
I just want to show them maybe an easier way to get to those training videos if they're inside of a portfolio project.
Oh, perfect.
And I think I'm sharing the wrong screen probably. So, oh no, I'm sharing the
No,
right
you're
one.
on, yeah,
All right.
we see ProjectSight.
Okay. So at any time, once you're logged into ProjectSight, any page that you're on, you're going to see this question mark icon. If you click that, you can navigate to Video Library, and that'll take you to the same portal to view all of those training videos. Now that's the main landing page for training videos. If you click on the question mark again, and you go to how-to guides, if there's a video that is specific to the page that you're on, you'll be able to pull up that specific video right on screen. So for example, companies and users, that video will just pop up right on your screen where you can watch it from here.
Perfect.
And that's all I had.
No, that's good. That's good. That's much easier than the way I was looking at it. All right, well, thank you, Hunter. I don't see any other questions. So we will see you all. We'll be sending out an invite for next month. We're going to be going over a budget and cost. It'll be in late August, which August is starting in just a couple days. So in several weeks. So just keep an eye out for that. And thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Hunter. And thank you, Phil and Charity on the chat. And have a great day, everybody.
All right, thanks, everyone.